First off, I want to ask you, how many of you believe that you have a personality? Good. Better than half of you believe that you have a personality.
Dale said he didn't, right?
Right, that's correct. Some of you raised both hands, which would indicate that you have more than one personality. We all have a personality. If you remember when we talked about the generations, from 0 to 6 years old is the time that you developed your personality. That is the imprinting stage of life. So from a psychological development standpoint, by the age of 7, you've developed your personality. And you can see in young children what their personality is going to be like for the rest of their life. Now the second stage, when you're developing your values and your beliefs, is when you also develop your temperament, the way you will portray your personality. Your temperament changes throughout your life. It's not going to be exactly set for the rest of your life. So depending on the stage of life you're in and what you're dealing with, your level of stress, those kinds of things, your temperament will adapt to the situation. I am much better at details today than I was 11 years ago when I went into business. Whenever I got bank statements, that's what they're called. Whenever I got those in the mail, I would go, that is where I bank. And I'd put it aside. Because they change the color of the envelope when you're out of money. If you're not an I, you probably didn't know that. So you start learning the little tips and tricks there. But from a personality standpoint, you don't want to surround yourself with people that are just like you. That's our tendency, though, in business, though, is to try to hire and bring people on that are like us. If you have everyone that is just like you, it's not good for your team. What you really want is for people to be adaptive. Dr. Morris Massey started looking at the way that we develop into who we are. He said that there are 3 stages of psychological development that we go through. 0 to 6 is the personality or the imprinting stage. From 7 to 13 is values and beliefs or the modeling stage. And from 14 to 22 years old, this is when we learn to make decisions, when we learn how we're going to think and solve problems for the rest of our life. So 3 stages from 0 to 22 years old to become who you are today. Now, like I said, your temperament continues to adapt throughout the rest of your life. And the DISC, or the ABC evaluation that you took, actually measures your temperament, which is the way you portray your personality. So you can get a little bit of a different read if you think about being at home versus thinking about being at work when you take that test. So just understand that as long as you are thinking about work and the way you are at work, you should get a pretty accurate read of the way that you act and interact. We've had a lot of changes over our lifetime so far. Things like, well, TV being invented, TV being very popular. We went from having a TV and having it in black and white to having it in color to having it with cable to having satellite to having 1,000 channels with nothing on to going to the computer. My kids very seldom even watch TV anymore. They go to the computer, get on Netflix, pick the TV show that they wanted to watch, commercial free, and watch it. We don't even use the DVR that much anymore. Those of you who still have a VCR, especially if it's still blinking 12 on it, Jerry, you know you're a high I. I don't know why it blinks 12. I guess there's 12 people that did it come over to program it. We looked at the shifts in computer technology, the shifts in cable, the microwave oven, the fax machine, the internet, all of those things. You think back to what you went through in that progression in your life, particularly in those 3 distinct stages, and you start to identify why you are, who you are, and where you are. We saw a lot of shifts in family values, particularly 1968 to 1972. That 5-year period, we went from 25% of women in the paid labor force to 47%. Went from 25% divorce rate to 45% divorce rate. 1972 is the very first year in American history where we had more women in the paid labor force than we had divorce rate. 1972. And from that, it skyrocketed with the number of women in the paid labor force versus the divorce rate. But up until 1971, it had been a perfect parallel between the divorce rate and the number of women in the paid labor force. 1972 is when that changed. The workplace expectations changed a lot as well. As we talked about last time, the boomer women paved the way for women in the paid labor force. They started to really change the way that men accepted women and the gender roles in the labor force. We started seeing flex time. We started seeing, even with Best Buy, the results-only work environment. And all of that shapes our temperament. Whether we realize it or not, the things that are going on around us every day shape us into the people that we are every day. How many of you believe that after you had kids, you saw the world a little different? I know I did. Particularly when I discovered, first one was a daughter, and I went, oh man, I have no idea what to do. I don't even understand my wife. And then you go to the second one, I had a daughter again, and you go, wow, there is a lot of estrogen in this house. I come home some days and I have no idea why everyone is crying, but they are. And I just go to the garage and wait for them to quit, and then I come in. From a personality standpoint, if you've got your reports or you've had a chance to look at that, I believe it's page 6, will tell you what your dominant characteristic is. Ideally, keep that in mind as we're going through what the different types of personality are. You'll see a graph there, 4 colors. The colors don't mean anything other than each one's a different bar, but look at the letter that's in that top bar. Now, show of hands, how many of you have D as your letter in your top bar? Raise your hand. Look around the room, see the D's. Okay, how many of you have I as the letter in your top bar? Okay, look around the room. How many of you have S? Okay, how many of you have C? Okay, wait, C's, please keep your hand up. Don't make these people mad. They will never forget. I just want to point that out because my wife is a C and I am an I. I is my top characteristic. D's followed closely behind that. So I have that ID, which is a trainer's profile. I should go into something like training or public speak. Hey, wait, that is what I did. Awesome, it worked out great. Teachers in a public school system, accountants, and engineers are typically high C's. Very good with details, organizing, that kind of stuff. Administrative assistants, anyone who organizes and plans things out every day typically goes into those careers because it fits their temperament. They're a high C. I don't do my accounting. Would you like to know why? Because it's detail driven. And I would be horrible at it. I would never bill people and then wonder why they never paid me. And I know this because I did that my first year in business and was smart enough finally to go, I need to find someone who's good at this, that's their strength, and allow them to do that. So let's look at our 4 types here. Dr. William Moulton Marston, his name's always tough to say. Dr. William Moulton Marston is the one who originated the DISC temperament. He was looking at the workplace and trying to identify why people are the way that they are, why they act the way they act, why some people are aggressive and some people are submissive. He is also the individual, by the way, who created Wonder Woman. Now, he created Wonder Woman with the idea that he needed to teach women to be stronger at work. And Wonder Woman was a perfect example because everyone wears a swimsuit to work, has magic bracelets, and a lasso that you can't escape from. She was actually my first love. Just pointing that out. Not really. But if you look at Wonder Woman and the example she gave for women, the example was never back down, always fight for what you want, always be strong. That was what Dr. Marston was trying to get across, is that if we can create the right temperaments at work, people understand how they're supposed to behave, then we create balance. What we do not want is all D's, all I's, all S's, or all C's on any team. Because what happens when you do that, if you have all D's, you end up with a lot of fights. Everybody wants to be in charge, everybody's going to put each other down, you're going to run over each other. If you have all I's, you will have so much fun. It will be awesome. You won't do anything, but it will be so much fun while you're not doing it. It's a party, and there could very well be chips and dip involved. If you have all S's, they will never meet because they don't want to get together. They just want to do their job and be left alone. They don't want to be in front of anyone, and so they, you know what you're supposed to do, you just do your thing. If you have all C's, they will struggle over who gets to decide what the process is going to be. So you have to understand that you don't want all of one type or all of another. You need a balance on any team. So as we look at these 4 preferences, the dominance, influential, steadiness, and conscientiousness, you start understanding a little bit about yourself. Now, looking at your graph, how many of you have 50% or higher on your dominant characteristic? Okay, just a couple. So, and what was your high one?
57.
57, and what one? D, I, S, or C? I don't remember.
D.
D. Don't jack with her. She'll body slam you and not feel bad about it. It depends on the person. And yours was an I, right? So Michelle will really like your attention a lot. So give her attention, buy her chocolate, those kinds of things. And from Irving, did any of you have a 50% or higher on one? I'm not sure on the report. Some of you have a report, some of you don't. If 50% or higher, then you can almost guarantee that the things that are described in the report will be just you. But as you look at that report, you have some of each of those, which means you can be different based on the situation. Some D, some I, some S, some C. The dominant individual, this is a driver, the competitor, the individual who wants to make sure that things get done. On Saturday morning, you probably get up and say, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, we're going to get it done. You're not that way? Wow. Are you that way at work? Okay, good. So you're at least thinking about work when you did it. So we got a head nod on, yes, she's that way at work, for Irving's benefit there. You'll have a tendency, if you're a high D, to push, to accomplish things. You measure yourself by what you accomplish in life, particularly in the workplace setting, by do you get your job done, your task completed, check off your action items off of your list, those kinds of things. The way that you manage your time is that you put as much stuff in there as you can, and then work as hard as humanly possible, and maybe a little bit more, until you accomplish what you're supposed to accomplish. People are trying to prioritize things from a time management standpoint that are high Ds. They will tend to have 3 times as many things as A priorities as what any other personality type will. It's all really important, and it all has to get done. The I, the influencer, this is the fun-loving relational person. They measure themselves by their relationships, not so much by their tasks. It's not that they don't get things done, because they do. But the way that they tend to do things is by building people up, having them feel good about themselves, encouraging them. This is the kind of individual that likes words of affirmation and gives words of affirmations. Their tendency is to take and say, you know what, you're really so good at this, and because you're so good at that, can you be in charge of that? The person goes, I'm really good at that, aren't I? So they're very good at building them up. When you're communicating with a D, the D will ask about business first and then personal second. Communicating with an I, they will tend to ask about personal first and business second. They both deal with business and personal, but they deal with it in a different manner. So you just have to understand that. D's think big picture. I's think big picture, the same way that the D's do. So both of them are thinking, how can we create this system that makes sense and gets us the job done? The S's have a tendency to think more along the lines of, let's just take care of the details, let's make sure things happen. S's have a balance between task and relationship. D's are all about task, I's are all about relationship, S's are about both. So those of you who are highest in the S category, you are the least common in the Western society. There are fewer people like you than any other temperament, so count yourself as unique if you're a high S. The high S's have a preference to just do their job, be left alone, allow them to do what they're supposed to do. Don't make them go to a stupid meeting that has nothing to do with them. That's the way S's view meetings. I's view meetings go, is there going to be cookies? Because I don't like cookies at meetings. When an I is in charge of a meeting, there will always be cookies. So count yourself lucky, because Michelle's in charge of a lot of these meetings, and there will always be cookies if you're here. If you're in Irving, I'm sorry, we can't send any cookies your way yet. That technology, well, it may have been existed, but the government hadn't let us in on it yet. The C, the conscientious individual, they are about the rules. They're about preserving rules and order and making sure things happen the way they're supposed to happen. These people are awesome to have around. Because if you don't have these people around, somebody goes to jail. They make sure that all the accounting is done right, that things are put in the right order, that everything happens the way that it's supposed to happen. We've got to have these people. I married a high C. I don't manage the checkbook. She does. Why? Because she knows how much money we have, and I get an allowance. And rightly so. And it works the way it's supposed to, because before I just had a $1,000 cushion and changed it in my checkbook, and they would still call me when I ran out of money. The bank has always been very good about that. Regardless of what bank you go to, they'll let you know when you're broke. So just be thankful for the banks. How many of you play Monopoly? Or have played Monopoly? Got some Monopoly play, there we go. Got some Irving Monopoly players as well. The dominant individual, when they play Monopoly, they play for one reason alone, and it is not to win. It is to destroy the competition. Their goal is to own all the property. Their goal is to own all of the money. Their goal is for other people to walk away going, I give up. I give up, you win. And they do business much the same way. They want all of the contracts. They don't want some of them, they want all of them. D's should be put in charge of selling things. One of my business partners who lives in Waco, Texas, has 75% D in his personality. He sells stuff, and he's real good at it. Really good at it. I just have to make it happen. He sells it. He is never going to implement, ever. Because he's more of a kill it and drag it back, and then I actually make sure that we skin it and do something with it. So we understand what our roles are in the workplace, and he is where he should be, because that's his personality. Now, the I's, when they play Monopoly, they play for one reason and one reason only. Because there's other people there. Somebody invited them, it's a party, chips and dips, maybe a carbonated beverage or two, or something with salt on the rim, I don't know, but it will be fun. They have to be reminded when it's their turn. It's like, hey, Jody, your turn to roll. You know, oh, hey, just roll for me. And the D's going, you got a 2. Okay. You lose. Oh, and I own a hotel, that's Boardwalk. Hey, just take my money, it's okay. Because they're there for the party. The S's, when they play Monopoly, they manage the property. The property is theirs to manage because people don't get mad at the property manager. Oh, yeah, you bought the property, here you go. Okay, you get the property. And when they mortgage it back, here's your money for that. They don't have any stress, no conflict. S's don't like conflict, and they try to avoid conflict if at all possible. The C's, when they play Monopoly, they're the banker. They manage the money. Their goal is to keep the D's from cheating. They preserve the rules, the order, the structure. First time I played Monopoly with my wife, I've been playing Monopoly my whole life. I'm an I, then a D. I love Monopoly. It's a great game. People get together. Somebody wins. It's awesome. You spend 3 or 4 hours together. There's chips. There's dip. It's cool. I get there and I'm like, I'm starting to pass that money. I go, shoo, no, I'm the banker. So she takes away the money, just like in real life. And she's passing out a different amount than I had ever passed. I had like 5 of everything. Because it's easy, right? So she's like, no, you get 1 of these, 2 of these, 4 of these. I'm like, no. You get all, she goes, page 32, did you not read the rule book? No. I actually didn't even know there was a rule book for Monopoly. After $500 in free parking, she's like, no. What you get off of like the taxes and stuff, that's what goes in free parking. We don't play Monopoly together anymore. But I do play with my oldest daughter because we like to crush each other. It's a lot of fun. It's great family bonding, and Renee goes and does other things. So the C, though, they're about rules, they're about order, they're about details, and they're about structure. Any of you ever been to a gun range? Like a good Texan, I own a gun. And I have been to a gun range before. When you go to the gun range, if you are a high D, what you tend to do is walk in, bypass the receptionist, because you know what you're doing and what you're supposed to do. You go, you put your stuff on, you've got your gun in the holster, it's already cocked, loaded, safety's off. You don't need a safety because you know what you're doing. Pull it out, boom, 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 boom. Unload the clip, you're good. You hit the target, you destroyed it, you did exactly what you were supposed to do. You accomplished things. You put it back in the holster, and you're out of there. You came, you saw, you conquered, you leave. The eye, when they go to the gun range, they flip the seat forward on their car, start digging through the McDonald's and Burger King that's in the back seat.
That's not true.
You haven't been in my car, have you?
That was when I had kids in the car.
That does make a big difference as well. Yes. You start digging around, you eventually find a clip for a 9mm Glock, which you don't own a 9mm Glock, but you found a clip for one. So you take it into the gun range, you're like, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. High-fiving the receptionist, chatting, how's your kids? How's life going? Oh, I love coming to the gun range, it's so much fun. And then you go into the break room and you talk to people, hey, how you doing? 15 minutes later you go, hey, I forgot my gun to my 9mm Glock. Anybody have a gun and some bullets I can borrow? And the C, who always carries his fare, will loan you a gun. You'll talk for another 15, 20 minutes, buy everybody a round of Dr. Peppers on your credit card, never even look at the receipt, and you're good. It's so much fun. You probably forget to shoot the gun, but you had a blast while you were there. The S shows up to the gun range, got the gun in the case just like you're supposed to. They check in, sign in, they notice the D is in their spot. They don't want to cause any waves, so they go back and say, hey, can you move me to a different spot because somebody else is in my spot? And you move to a different spot, and you unload the gun, put on the safety, set the target the way it's supposed to be. Bang, 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 bang. You shoot slow and steady, but you execute fantastically. The C, when they go to the gun range, they've got two guns, color-coded, first and second. Back up just in case you need it. Because you never know when something's going to happen. You can jam or something like that. You check in with the receptionist. Notice there's a misspelled word on the sign-in sheet, which is very unprofessional. You make sure and let the receptionist know how much more professional of an image it would be if they actually had everything spelled correctly. So 3 or 4 minutes later, the receptionist finally goes, whatever you want, I will do whatever you want. Just allow me to go back to doing my job. And so then you go and you notice the D's in your spot, you promptly lecture them on how to follow the rules, you put them where they're supposed to be, you take your first gun out, unload the clip to make sure no one messes with it, reload the clip, put it in the gun, put on your safety, hearing protection, eye protection, okay, target set just exactly where it's supposed to be, ready, aim, aim, fire, bullseye, you're done. You came there to get a bullseye, you got a bullseye, you did exactly what you were supposed to do, in the order you were supposed to do it. You take the gun back, you clean it, put it all back together the way it's supposed to be in the case. You make sure as you're checking out, you go, you know what? I just need to make sure that this gets done right. So I'm just going to take this with me, and I'll get it back to you when it's done right, so that I know that I can trust that it's done the right way. And then if it's an eye at the front desk, they're like, sweet. If you're to put 4 Ds in an elevator, there's a chance you'll end up with a fist fight. If you put 4 I's in an elevator, someone will have chips and dip, or at least a Snicker bar, and you have a party. If you put 4 S's in an elevator, they'll hold the door for one each other, push the button for each other. They'll make sure that, oh, you go first. No, seriously, you go first. They'll allow each other to go. If you have 4 C's in an elevator, you're either going to have a CPA or an engineering firm at the end of it. Because they're very good at details. All right, our next one here is you start looking at the checkbook. I mentioned my wife's a C, right? I mentioned that. I'm an I. When we got married, she was still a C and I was still an I. And that was 17 years ago this summer. And thankfully, I travel a lot, so we're still married. That's her rule, not mine. So, when we first got married, and we didn't have much money, I was 21, she was 20 years old, so like a lot of young people who were finishing up college, we were broke. I mean, broke, just like normal people. So, we're doing the checks and buying groceries and stuff, and we went to HEB in San Angelo. We were at Angelo State, and she wrote a check for $25.95. I'll never forget the amount. They processed the check at the bank, ripping us off for $25.96. Can you imagine the audacity of the bank ripping off poor college students who were newly married like that? So anyway, that's what happened. So we get the statement in. She balances it and all that kind of stuff. And so we go to the bank. And by we, I mean she makes me go with her to the bank to explain how the bank has messed this up. And she first tell her, she explained 10-15 minute explanation of what they've done wrong and how they're ripping us off and cheating us and that kind of stuff. She's a very high C. And then the teller says, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Let me tell the supervisor. Till the supervisor comes along, and she listens, and she goes, I'm going to have to get you with somebody else. We talked to like a loan officer, an ag lender, and finally the bank president. Finally, we're sitting down. This is like 2.5 hours later. We're sitting down with the bank president. The bank president listens to this 25-minute explanation now about how they're ripping people off, and we're the ones who are going to stop that. And he reaches into his pocket, and he pulls out 2 pennies. And he says, there's 1 penny that we took from you, and there's another penny for your trouble. I literally fell out of my chair laughing. I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. My wife did not see the humor in this situation. So she proceeds to let him know that it wasn't funny when I finally get up off the floor, because literally, physically, fell out of the chair laughing. I go, sweetheart, I love you. I am walking to the apartment. Here's the keys. I walked 1.5 miles back to the apartment. We got there about the same time. The bank had gone into their system and fixed the penny and written a letter of apology and signed it. Yeah, so we get there about the same for 1 penny, $25.95 versus $25.96. She goes, they fixed it, and it will never happen again. I said, I bet you he balances your checkbook before he sends you the statement. If you are a D, when you get your statement in the mail, your tendency is to look at it, open it up, take a look at the amount of money that you have. As long as there is plenty of money in there, you fold it back up and put it aside. You don't really worry about it too much. If you are a high I, you get your statement in the mail, as long as it's not all in black on the envelope, which is when you've overdrawn, by the way, then you just toss it aside and you're good. Most I's don't even open their bank statement because the bank they'll call. You know, if they really need something, they'll call. It's all good. The S, when they get their bank statement in the mail, they will open it up, they will balance it, balance their checkbook, and wherever there's a discrepancy, they'll make the adjustment in their checkbook, whether it's for or against them, so that they don't cause waves. When the C gets their statement in the mail, they will open it up, they will balance it. If there is any error at all, they will call the bank and explain what they've done wrong and how they can fix it, offering a better system for the future. I only know this because I'm married to one. But they're very helpful, very. When you start thinking about the workplace setting, though, and leading a meeting, D's are naturally moved to the top of the pile. They like being in charge, and they're very good at leading things. They're good at delegating and organizing and structuring and sending people out to do their job. When a D is in charge of a meeting, whether they're supposed to be or not, they take control and they make sure things happen. D's will get very frustrated when there's too much chit-chat in a meeting. They will get very frustrated when people are screwing around instead of getting things done. They're like, we could have accomplished this in 5 minutes. I don't know why we have all these people here. That person didn't need to be here. That one didn't need to be here. We could have just gotten this done. They're like, okay, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do this. We're done. Any questions? No, I didn't think so. Let's go. And they're done. When the I is in charge of the meeting, they're looking for attention. They're going to start the meeting with, let's have a little drawing. Okay, everybody, guess what animal I am? And they're doing all kinds of goofy stuff to get people to laugh and be entertained. There's nothing really wrong with that. It's just a different style. They're looking for the attention and the fun and all that kind of stuff. If you have all eyes in a meeting, they'll have no idea why they're meeting, but it will be fun. And they will get very little done, if anything done. You need balance in there. The D needs to say, look, we got to get on track here. And the I goes, okay, but don't forget, we're all people, and the relationships are important. So they balance each other out. The S's will try to avoid meetings. Their tendency is to go, do I really need to be a part of that? Because I've got a lot to do, and I'd really just as soon just keep doing my job, as opposed to being pulled out to go to a meeting. They don't want to go to the meetings, they don't have to. I's invite everybody. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Everybody needs to come to this, even if it has nothing to do with them. They may want to be there, so let's invite them. The C, when they're in charge of a meeting, whether they're actually in charge or not, they typically have an agenda. They know what needs to be done, when it needs to be done by, who's going to do what. They take the minutes and they make sure everything is organized and dispersed in the right way. If we didn't have a C in a meeting, the D's and the I's, who are a very big picture, would assume someone else is doing it. They'd get back to their desk and go, well, I hope they get that done. The C's are the ones that make sure everybody knows who's supposed to do what. The S's are wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. You can delegate to an S. They don't know how to say no. It's virtually impossible for them to say, I'm not going to do that. But a D, if you delegate to them and they don't want to, they'll go, that's not my job. You do that. The I's may ask for a free t-shirt. If I need a t-shirt, I'm cool. I'll do that. But I need a t-shirt, a pat on the back, stand up in front of the group, something. The C's, when they're in charge, they get it done. C's and D's forget about the relationship at times, though. They have a tendency to have a quest for accomplishing, and at times forget that they're supposed to keep people happy while they're accomplishing things. So you've got to make sure that if you are a D or you are a C as your highest characteristic, you can't focus just on the job. You've got to ask people how they're doing. Make a conscious effort to ask, how are things going for you? And then go into business. It's difficult for D's and C's to do. D's are big picture. I's are big picture. S's and C's like the details and the minute things more than the D's and the I's do. C's are so good at organizing that you should always put them in charge of organizing. Sometimes they organize to a fault, depending on how high of a C they are. They may organize so much that they don't get around to doing. The D's think that they can accomplish anything. Tremendous personal confidence. The I's believe they have plenty of time for everything, but they tend to be procrastinators. Procrastinators of the world, unite. Tomorrow. The S's will take whatever you delegate to them, they'll do what they need to do, but they don't like to stand up in front of groups typically, and they don't want to be in charge of stuff. They like to be a great number two person. Look, if they're in charge, I'll be the co-president of this committee, but I don't want to be the chair or the president of the committee. I'll help. I'll be the vice president. And they'll do a lot of the work. So keep that in mind that each of those types are absolutely critical, but you have to understand how you're structuring your teams. This ABC evaluation is ideal to use across the board within your organization. It's designed as a post-hire assessment. Learn about the people that you work with. It's never used for pre-hire and it's never used for promotions. Never used as an evaluation. It is only designed to be used to find out more about the person and how to work with them. And here's the thing that I want to get across to you when you talk about leading within the organization. Your job as a supervisor, manager, coworker is to accomplish things through other people, which means that you have to be good at adapting your style to them. Their job is not to adapt to you if you're the supervisor. Your job is to adapt to the people around you. If each of us starts to learn the people around us, then we can start adapting in such a way that they feel comfortable. You know, I know that when I'm working with one of the individuals who's a really high C that works with me, I don't start with, how are your kids doing? How's your wife doing? I didn't even know he had a kid for like a year and a half because he didn't talk about it. Because that's personal. That stays personal. Work is work. So 18 months of working for me before I found out he even had a son. And I'm in the big, how's everybody doing? Oh, it's so great. So when I talk to him, I start with, here's what we need to accomplish. What process should we follow? For the first couple of years that he worked for me, every idea that I had was stupid. And it wasn't necessarily that all of my ideas are stupid, although a big chunk of them probably are. But everything I did, that'll never work. That never work. That's a dumb, no, we are not doing that. And I'm in charge. But, okay. I don't like making people mad. So finally I figured out that I had to be a little stronger. What I said was, you go, that'll never work. So you know what? I have to accomplish this. This is the end result. We have to get to this end result. But I don't know how to get there. How do you think we could get there? Because he's a high C, he liked the process. Not so much the end result, the process. So I just turned it over to him. What's the process we should follow? And he would line it out. He'd go, well, I'm not saying it will work because the idea is really not good. But if it was going to work, we need to do this and this and this and this and this. Wow. Don't you think you'd probably be best at that since you know the process? Yeah, I think I'm going to be best at that. He'd take it over, and it would happen. And it would happen great. And guess what? Side benefit, I didn't have to do all the work anymore. So, he took control over it, he got it done because he liked the process. The D wants the end result. The C wants the process. Big picture, detail. So with the D you go, we need to get around here, but what is the best way to do that? What's the best goal to have? And they go, well, I don't think you're shooting high enough, you need to go here. D's are very confident. They'll typically push further than what an I or an S or a C even would. In a relationship, the dominant person, this is the one who needs to be in charge. They wear the pants in the family, so to speak. D's are looking for ways for other people to have the ability to submit to them. My wife is a C, but D is her second characteristic. When we got married, she goes, I just want to make something very clear. The word submit will not be in the vows. It took me 6 weeks to convince her to change her last name after I asked her to marry me. She wanted me to change my last name to hers. And I said, you know, I'll bend on a lot of things. You can keep your last name if you want, and I'll keep mine. If that's what you're comfortable with, that's cool. I'm good with that. How about neither of us change our last name? Finally, her dad, which is the only human alive that she listens to, came here and said, sweetie, you're changing your last name. She goes, but you didn't have any sons, so there'll be no more Clarks. It's okay. Genetically, we'll still be here, even if the last name is not on the rolls. So she agreed, because of her father, to change her last name. The I in any relationship, they're looking for fun. They want to build a relationship, engage with the other person, enjoy themselves. I's are great. They don't argue a lot in any relationship if you have two I's together, but they also go broke a lot. So if you have two I's that are married to each other, there's a very good chance that bankruptcy is in their future. And I'm just saying that from personal experience, and if I hadn't married a C, we probably wouldn't have any money. You should know, you're not buying a speedboat. But they're on sale. I don't care. $27,000 is not on sale. That's a lot. So she balances me out a lot. The S's in a relationship, they're looking for ways to keep each other happy, to avoid conflict. They don't want to make anybody mad. If two S's get married, they don't argue. My parents are both S's. And I told my dad at 23 years old, I've been married for a couple of years, I said, Dad, I'm very disappointed in you. Why? I said, you set a horrible example of what marriage is supposed to be about. But your mother and I love each other. We're always I know. That's the problem. I thought my wife would just be submissive when I got married. Mom never argues with you, and he goes, well, but I don't argue with her either. I go, well, yeah, there's that. However, two S's in a relationship, they try to accommodate one another, keep each other happy. Their goal is harmony, to make things work the way they're supposed to. C's, when they get into a relationship, their tendency is they want to be direct, they want to be honest, they want to make sure that everything is above board. The caution that I would give C's in a relationship is the C's version of honesty is the I's version of brutality. I's are not necessarily as honest in a relationship. For example, if my wife goes, do these pants make my butt look big? No matter what, I'm going to say, baby, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. I love you just the way you are. A C might go, yeah, they kind of do. Because you asked the question. So you have to balance that out. Even though you're being honest, you have to understand that the person that you're with at work, at home, or anywhere else will start looking at you and going, I need you to be like Honest in a loving way. Honest in a kind way. Not just honest at all times. For this chart right here, I'm going to be sending this chart to Michelle, so any of you that would like a copy of this, she can forward that to you. These are the clash points in personality. If you look, it breaks it out. I'm going to turn my back on Irving for just a minute. You've got the D and the D. You've got the I and the I, but you also have it across the board here. So when a dominant individual is with another dominant individual, they tend to have a struggle for power. Each of them is looking for how they can be in control and have authority. When you have a D with an I, the D wants results while the I wants relations. They struggle over whether to communicate or shut up and work. That's the struggle they're having. So the I, with the I, it's an attention struggle. Look at me, look at me. We're looking for ways for people to pay attention to us because we love that. Let me just tell you, when a C goes bald, they get very upset about it. They worry about what people think. When an I goes bald, I goes, hey, look at that. Everybody look at my bald head. Isn't it beautiful? Oh, it's so shut. They don't care. Whatever gets people to stare at them more, they're happy with. Personal experience, that's all. S's. When you have an S with an S, it's a leave me alone. Both want to work, but they don't really want to communicate. They just want to do their job and be left alone. When you have two C's together, it's a my way struggle. They have a desperate need to be the one who thought of the right answer. Even though both processes or both answers may be correct, the one that thought of it is the one that's right. So I want you to keep a few things in mind. Number one, when you look at the structure of your team, it's ideal to know who is a D, who's an I, who's an S, who's a C. And you have access to do this for as many people in your company as you'd like to. So if you want to test everybody on your staff, go for it. When you start looking at the results, keep in mind you're trying to right way. I's keep people happy in the process, and S's keep their head down and work. All of which is needed. You never want to have all D's, all I's, all S's, or all C's on any team. I hope that you've learned some about this. One last thing I want to leave you with. D's and I's are big picture. S's and C's are details. D's and C's are task-oriented. I's and S's tend to be a little more on the relationship side. I's very much so. S's balance between relationship and task. As you look at the makeup of your team, you start understanding why people behave the way that they do. Their temperament is portrayed in their behaviors or their personality there. When you look at your relationships outside of work, you start understanding what you're looking for. D's, a lot of times in personal relationships, think they want to be with another D, but they don't. Really, D's should be either with an I or an S. Never a C and never a D. And the reason for that is they need someone who will submit to them. C's really need to be with an S because the I will drive them nuts. Because they're always screwing around when they should be focused on getting things done. So S is ideal. They can handle a D, but they're going to argue a lot. If they have an S, the S is, yes, sweetheart, whatever you say. And they're going to just go with it. So the balance that you have in any relationship, you start looking at, if you're in charge, look at who works for you and beside you, and understand you've got to be able to adapt to those people. Change the way you portray yourself in some ways to get to that person to motivate and drive them the way you ought to.